Hello, I'm Jerry Schultz, an Associate Professor of Business at St. Charles Community College, and this is Impact, the blueprint to provide insight to leaders from a regional perspective. Today we welcome Rachel Ganousis. Rachel brings over a decade of group purchasing organization supply chain experience working for companies like Mercy Health, Health Trust, Affordable Care, and MedProcure. Rachel, thanks for taking the time to join us today and for making an impact.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start off, Rachel. Let's build a foundation for our audience. Can you give me some background on how you got to where you are today with all the companies that you've worked for?
Absolutely. Great question. I came out of high school knowing that I wanted to help people in some capacity. Initially, I thought that going pre-med, becoming a doctor, that whole path would be for me. After 2 years going through Mizzou's pre-med program, I had the opportunity to shadow 5 different surgeons, and I got a queasy stomach, and it just wasn't for me. So I decided, well, how can I still impact patient care through a health system, but not from a clinician standpoint? And I switched my major to finance. So for my junior and senior year, I was kind of making up some credit hours, took summer school after my junior and after my senior year to ultimately graduate on time, landed a job with Mercy Health. I was so grateful for that, really. And then I was able to do analytics and examine the cost of the supplies that they were buying on a daily basis. And we had a contracting department that was continually using us for benchmarking purposes to make sure they were getting the most competitive costs in the marketplace. And what our goal was there was to make sure we were allowing them to have a competitive cost so that they could have the appropriate staff needed, right? When your supply chain expenses go up, you can't have as many nurses or clinicians tending to patients, and that decreases the quality of patient care. So that's how we ended up where I am today.
And that is, customer-centric, customer service and servant leadership at the same time.
Absolutely.
Giving the customer everything they want when they need it. So with that being said, as I look back, sometimes it's hard to look back and think about COVID. There are certain products and services in healthcare that have to be to the physicians and the patients and the vendors at the right place at the right time, and especially at the right price. And we were all desperate. Can you share a situation and how it came out?
Absolutely. We knew that protecting our clinicians was critical. We knew that if they were COVID positive, they had a 14-day quarantine, and that wasn't something that we really could handle at that time due to the nursing shortage. So we went above and beyond, thought outside the box, and chose an offshore provider, took it under as a private label opportunity at our GPO, Resource Optimization and Innovation, owned by Mercy Healthcare. And ultimately, we got a competitive price, and we didn't face the shortages that other healthcare, providers did by purchasing from U.S. manufactured distributors.
So share with me those skills, leadership skills that you had that have made you so successful in each one of these positions. What is it? What are those competencies that you possess that you think others don't have?
Absolutely. I think it's customer service, customer centricity at its finest, right? Whether you work in a call center or you work at the patient bedside, right? In any form of affecting patient care, we always have to think about the customer, who is the patient in this instance. We have to think about the cost associated, right? And it's not just the price tag on each of the supplies that the patient needs. It's the emotional cost, the overhead cost, and things of that nature. It's the convenience, right? Could we get these products, even if we were showing a savings opportunity through the analytical, outputs that my teams do? Could we get them, right? Were they easy to order? Were they easy to get out of the box when they were received on the dock? Things of that nature. But then ultimately, I think the most critical component of the 4 C's in customer centricity is communication. And it's really open to a two-way dialogue where you're willing to listen, but you're also willing to respond and be transparent, letting them know where you're at today. Don't overpromise, right? We always say underpromise and overdeliver, right? So those are really the critical factors in my approach and what sets me aside from others.
So what would be an example of overpromising? Were there situations where you did overpromise, and how do you don't have to name the company or the people?
Yeah, sure.
And how do you come out of that risk that you took by overpromising?
Yeah. So sometimes there would be an opportunity to really garner just phenomenal double-digit savings, but it would require a conversion. So it would require a clinician moving from a suture that they were trained on during their med school days to something that they were less certain about. Perhaps it tore when they were trying to suture skin, or it had some other, lower quality deficit. That might be a great example, and probably the best example when you try to force things to happen and then you get some negative feedback. You really have to reposition yourself and say, how can we make this, as good as it can be for the greater good of all? Because at the forefront, we want to provide, compassionate care through exceptional service, right?
And that's exactly what we try to do here.
Absolutely.
At the college. We want to make sure that the books are at the right place, that we have an A+ program. What else do the students need to be able to come here, graduate in a timely manner, and give them the service and enjoy coming to school? No one enjoys going to a hospital or having surgery.
Right.
But if you go, you want to know that you're safe and that people care about you.
Right.
Students are the same thing. So it's not same, but it's similar in making sure that we're customer-focused, customer-centric.
Absolutely. So many parallels.
Yes, very many. Rachel, would you take a minute or several and walk us through in a little more detail with examples the 4 C's of customer centricity and how organizations can put them into practice?
I'd love to. The 4 C's of customer centricity. First, customer. We have to identify who is the customer, right? Is it a healthcare system? Is it the patient? Is it the doctor? Who are you servicing? Second, the cost. We have to identify really more than just the price tag. We have to identify, is there a cost overhead? Is there an emotional cost? Is there a cost of conversion that causes discomfort within your clinicians or within your patients? We have to talk about convenience. Really, how do we access these goods? How do we order these goods? Are they at a competitive cost? Are they easy to, unbox and put on our inventory shelves after we receive them? And then ultimately, and probably the most important C of the 4 C's of customer centricity is communication. It's having that open, as I stated before, 2-way dialogue where you're very transparent and you let them know the current state that you're at. Whether it be you're doing analytics to show them, hey, if you join our group purchasing organization as a hospital, we can save you 10%, right? Perhaps you're talking to somebody internal and you're saying, hey, that's a great contract, truly. But here's what the benchmark shows, that you could probably do 3.5% better on this widget. So it really depends on who you're talking to, but really having that transparent, open, 2-way dialogue is the most beneficial of all the 4 C's.
And who would you say in all the industries you've worked in, or maybe outside the industry, has really been that state-of-the-art industry that's really been customer-centric at the highest level, in your opinion, and why?
I think Edward Jones. I did have a brief 3-month internship with Edward Jones whenever I switched to the finance major at Mizzou.
Excellent.
And so I think that they had it all together. Their divisions were separated appropriately. They looked at value in the long term. And I believe that that's probably the company I would name.
And you just said value in the long term. Would you explain that?
Absolutely. So whenever we think of having a customer-centric mindset, we think of retention. We don't want to just come and service your one need. A day-to-day example would be painting of your home, right? If you hire a painting company and you say, I need my dining room, my kitchen, and the wall going upstairs painted, well, it would probably be poor business leadership of that painting company to come in and just do that and leave. They might need to say, do you need your gutters painted? Do you need your mailbox painted? Do you need your shutters painted? Do you need your garage doors painted, right? So that's a great example. And what I saw a lot in Edward Jones of investing, in their clientele for the long term by just continually thinking in an innovative manner and looking at the next opportunity to stay connected with them.
And they're still here today.
Absolutely.
They're on LinkedIn everywhere.
Yeah.
They're in the St. Louis Business Journal. They're always doing the right thing at the right place at the right time.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you for that very much. Rachel, thank you again for taking the time to talk about the 4 C's. Very interesting, and I think we all can say we learned something from that. For our audience, thank you for watching. We'll continue talking with Rachel in another episode. Remember, be bold, be confident, and be extraordinary.
Thank you.